We gave, now this is when Abraham, let me read the Quran verse. We gave Abraham his integrity formerly, and we knew him well when we said to his father and his people, he's dealing with the idols that his father and his people are worshiping. What are these statues to which you are devoted? Then they said, we found our parents worship them. He said, you and your parents are in evident error. They said, are you telling us the truth or are you just playing? He said, your Lord, the Lord of heavens and earth, the one who created them, and bear witness. By God, I will have a plan for your statues after you have gone away. So he reduced them to pieces, except the biggest one, that they may return to it. They said, who did this to our gods? Certainly he is the wrongdoers. Now pay attention to what Abraham's doing. They said, we heard a youth mentioning them. He is called Abraham. They said, bring him before the eyes of the people so that they may witness. They said, are you the one that did this to our gods, O Abraham? He said, but it was the biggest one that did it to them. So he's putting the blame on the biggest statue that he left alive. Ask them if they can speak. Then they turned to one another and said, you yourselves are wrongdoers, but they reverted to their old ways. You certainly know that these don't speak. He said, do you worship instead of God? What can neither benefit you anything or harm you? Fie on you for what you worship in your God. And they throw Abraham in the fire. And God said, let the fire be coolness upon Abraham. They planned to harm him, but they weren't able to burn him. Guess where the story this steals from, everyone? I'm going to take you to the source really quick. Same story, Midrash Rabbah Genesis. A rabbi writes this 400 AD. We know what rabbi writes it, and it shows up in the Quran. How damaging is this story? Hold on. This is brand new. I haven't shared this yet. But since Jay has been trying to get me to spend money and upgrade my bathrooms, I'm going to torture him with another Jewish bedtime story. So this is Midrash Rabbah Genesis on page 310. So let me see if I can just jump to the meat of the story. So Abraham's addressing them about the idols. Take this and offer it to them. So he took a stick, broke them. All right, so he breaks all of them, and he puts the stick in the hand of the largest. Right, so he's making it look like the largest pagan god destroyed all the other gods. When his father returned, listen, guys, same story. When his father returned and demanded, what have you done to them? I cannot conceal it from you, he rejoined. A woman came with a plate full of fine meal and requested me to offer it to them. One claimed, these are the pagan idols talking, I must eat first, while the other claimed, I must eat first. Thereupon the largest arose and took the stick and broke them. So he puts... This is a Jewish bedtime story. Hold on. And he puts the blame on the biggest god, and then they deliver Abraham up to throw him in the fire, and they were unable to burn Abraham. This is brand new. Right out of Midrash Rabbah Genesis. Rabbi, we know what rabbi wrote this. We know what year he wrote this. And Muhammad said, let me have that. Hadouken! And he snatched it into his Quran.
So Muhammad, if you are in doubt of what we have plagiarized from the Bible and the Injil,
plagiarize something like it.
All right, so I invited Muhammad back up.
Hey,
let
bro.
him sit down. Now let him sit down and give it.
Hey, man, I don't do this in the evenings, man. So I'm gonna get off here and go watch a movie with my fiance.
So
wait,
okay.
Let him give his argumentation before you go.
No, I give you the complaint department, man.
All right. So while you guys are laughing, if your claim is that the Quran copies everything from the Bible, then it would copy everything one for one. It would
not the Bible. This is a Jewish bedtime story. Get it right.
Yeah. Our claim isn't that it copies everything from the Bible.
No. So allow me to. You said it copies from the Bible and the Torah. If that's the claim,
gave
then
you
it
some
would copy
examples
everything
of where it
along with the
copies from,
historical
yeah.
inaccuracies.
Hold on, Muhammad. Don't misquote me. I said it copies. It's a copy and paste, and then that says takes things from the Bible, takes from the rabbinical commentaries, takes from the Talmud, takes from all these other places. So yeah.
Okay, so if it does copy and paste, then it would copy and paste with the errors found in them. For an explicit example, in the Bible, the story of Moses. Hold on, can you let me make my point?
Why is a bedtime story? Can you explain to us why a bedtime story is coming in the Quran?
Can you allow me to give you
Hey,
an
Jay,
explicit
plagiarism
example?
doesn't have to be word for word. You can take a whole story and put your own spin on it. It's still plagiarism.
Okay, but when it corrects the spin on it, air quotes, when it corrects the spin on it, that's different.
Yeah, so we're actually not quoting from the Bible here. We're quoting from the Midrash
Allow me to give
Rabbah
you
on
the
Genesis.
explicit examples. There are many examples, but this one
Well,
explicitly
can you
is the
hold on?
story of Moses
Can you
found
deal
in
with
the
my
Testament.
example that I've posted here from Bereshit Rabbah on Genesis? This shows up in 400 Common Era, 400 AD. This dude sits down and writes this story about Abraham, and then your Quran steals it. This story does not exist until this guy writes this story. How did it end up in your Quran?
Sure, we'll run with that logic. I'm running with your logic. But if that logic starts to fall apart when you start comparing stories found
Okay,
in the
what
Old
did Muhammad say
Testament,
here?
Moses and the
No
Pharaoh,
prophet between me and
You're
Jesus.
not allowing me to say my
Do you
explicit
agree with
examples.
this?
What's that?
Muhammad says there's no prophet between him and Jesus. This is mutawatir. It shows up in every hadith transmission.
Mutawatir means
No
Mutawatir
prophet,
means
multiple
what?
transmissions.
Right. When that's
Right.
in Sahih Muslim, it can be unauthentic at times.
Okay, let's go down to that one. All right, let's go to the next one.
You didn't just hear what I
Sahih
said.
Bukhari, there's no prophet between me and Jesus. Is that one unauthentic too?
Sure, it could be authentic.
Okay, the next one in Sahih Muslim.
Okay,
Is this one unauthentic?
It could be authentic. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Sunan Ibn Majah. Oh no, Sunan Abu Dawud.
Hey,
No
can you
prophet
stop going on
between
a
me and
monologue?
Jesus.
Can you
Is
allow
this
me to
one
speak?
unauthentic?
Can you stop going on the monologue? I thought you were going to watch a movie.
Hold on,
with your
is this one
friend.
unauthentic?
It's authentic. Sure.
Okay, this one's authentic. Okay, so this rabbi sits down and writes this entire story in between the life of Jesus and Muhammad. Why does it show up in your Quran?
Because it's an authentic story.
This is the same rabbi that rejects Jesus and says he's boiling in hot excrement.
But that story itself is authentic. This story.
Where does he get
You
it
don't care
from?
about what
Because
the-
he's the
what
one
the
that
rabbi
makes it up,
believes.
dummy.
What's that?
Where does he get it from? He's the one that writes the story.
What? You don't have to call me a dummy because you're being
bro,
clearly stupid.
Honestly, bro, I call a spade if you don't know me.
Host,
So-
the
You're an
Quran is
ass,
a copy and
so-
paste of the Bible,
Listen.
right?
If you don't mind, we're actually in Bereshit Rabbah on Genesis. This is a Talmudic writing.
Right, and we can talk about Talmudic
230
writing.
years before your prophet starts flopping around and foaming at the mouth. He writes this story.
Right.
Why does it end up in the
But when
Quran?
Jesus brings the New
Well,
Testament
Muhammad
and it
is
copies off
accused
the
of
Old
stealing Jesus'
Testament,
words.
that's not
Focus, friend.
So
Why does this
Moses'
story
word?
end up in your Quran?
Jesus took Moses' word too then. He stole
Z.
his word.
Here, hold on a second.
I'm sorry, Muhammad.
Why does the story this guy wrote show up in your Quran? When Muhammad says there's no prophet between him and Jesus.
That doesn't mean the man's a prophet. That means that story was translated. It was
So he accidentally wrote a story. Hold on. He accidentally wrote a story that takes up 9, 8, almost 20 verses in your Quran. He accidentally wrote a bedtime story and wrote your Quran.
You calling it a bedtime story doesn't mean it's a bedtime story. That means
This
that
was a
prophet
bedtime
was
story. It was a legend.
Okay, and if that's the case, then that legend was authentic. It was something. that
Wait,
happened.
do you know what the definition of a legend is?
Oh my God, dude. Listen, your claim is that the Quran copies and pastes. If it copies and pastes, then it would copy and paste all of the
So
inaccuracies.
this guy who doesn't say his
For
work is
example,
hold on.
for
So this guy who doesn't say his
example,
work is
for
divinely
example.
inspired sits down, writes Harry Potter, it shows up in your Quran. You says it happened.
He never said he was divinely inspired, did he?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
In fact, when he's writing this bedtime story,
It was in their culture. He
right?
heard
Why
it.
is it in your Quran then?
Your
Because
Quran is
it
your
probably
Quran,
happened.
hold on, Muhammad.
happened.
Your Quran only has divine revelations of Allah. That's what we're trying to say. How is this stuff coming into your Quran? This could not have been a divine revelation from Allah.
Because that bedtime story
So
probably.
let's prove this. Hold on, let's prove this. So you said that this thing happened and they just now pin it down. Is that what you're saying?
And they what?
It just now shows up in 400 AD.
The story showed up in 400 AD, but it happened during the time of.
Prove it. Prove it. Show us. Show us any other precedent of where Jews have legends and they forget to write them down and then they show up 1,500 years later. Show us a precedent for that.
Just like you can't prove in the Old Testament that.
No, you
Moses
made the
ever
claim.
split the Red
You
Sea.
made the claim, friend. You bear the burden of proof. Get Rick rolled, friend.
No. You said you made
Chest thumping like a rooster doesn't work around here. Prove it.
Copies and paste the Quran, and it would copy and paste
Prove
all
this
the
story.
inaccuracies.
Prove this story happened, and prove that the Jews actually believe this before this story shows up in history.
You can't prove
Go
that
ahead.
that story happened, just like you can't prove that Jesus ever existed.
Okay, but we can prove. Hold on. We can prove that your prophet says there's no prophet between him and Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This man sits down and writes this bedtime story. It shows up in the Quran. You said because he wrote the bedtime story, it happened.
No, because it's in the Quran, it happened. Difference, big difference.
Oh, that's nice, friend. All right, let's just move to Aladdin and the
Quran
flying
goes into,
carpet.
don't go to a different example. I'm going to give you the explicit example that I've been trying to give you. So basically, in the Old Testament, it mentions the story of Moses and Pharaoh, but it's
We know where this comes from.
Don't
run. Hold on, don't run. We know where this comes
We already
from.
talked about that. We already talked about
Prove
that.
your claim.
I told you we can't prove that it's from Abraham.
Okay, I can prove who wrote. Hold on,
can't prove that Moses-
here. I can prove who wrote this story. Wait, I can prove who wrote this story. I can prove when it shows up in history. You come up and say, "Oh, it's a much older story." Prove it. Prove it, Muslims.
Original autograph? You have an original autograph?
Prove it.
Listen,
You have an original
when you say that the
autograph.
Quran copies and
You're the
pastes from the
proponent. Hold on.
Bible and the
He's
Torah,
the proponent that it's.
it would copy
Hold on.
and paste
He's
with
the
all the
proponent that it's an original work
When
from
it does
Talmud.
copy and paste,
You have an original.
hypothetically,
You have an
right?
original.
Copy and
Here,
paste the story.
speaking
Those
Muslim, hit that mute
So
button.
if it's
accuracy
a
that
copy
the
and
Pharaoh
paste,
was
we
a
follow
king.
the same God
In
that
the
you
Bible-
follow. That
in
means
the
you guys
Bible,
should.
This
calls
guy
the-
shows up
it calls
between the
ruler
life of
in the
Jesus
Bible.
and Muhammad and write your
Why am I
Quran.
getting rude when I'm
Muting me,
speaking?
not letting
Please.
Here, give me Allah
wrote it?
powers. Give me
Prove it,
Allah
prove
powers,
it.
and when these dudes waffle,
You guys
I'll
are
kill them
bad
right back to Mecca.
Don't you have it?
Prove
You
it's
guys are very
original.
bad.
No, not on this one.
You guys are a bad representation of Jesus.
Yeah, you're a bad representation of your prophet if you're not shopping
Hold
for
on,
lives
you
on the
can't-
playground.
Prove it's an original.
I do of any other life. I will be honest. Atheists have more
All
respect.
right, I'm going to give you guys another example here really quick.
Show me an autograph of it. Don't show me a text.
And the manipulation of hate towards Muslim. I understand. I promise you.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
Z, it's
genuinely
best.
do. I
Here,
get
it's
it.
best if you just sit there until another woman comes up. So
Like, remove your generational
testimony
curse.
seriously.
Hey, okay, everybody quiet. 1 second. Listen, let's not get emotional. We are talking about it. Z, if you want to get emotional with Muhammad when he says that you women, Muslim women,
me remove your
have half
generational
the brain
curse.
of men, okay?
You have
Get
a
emotional with
peace-sized
it.
brain and a
Don't get
peace-sized,
emotional
you know
with it.
what?
Hey, just
you're
if
saying
he's
you're
ever
not
talking,
my
if he's
friend.
ever talking, you send him to Mecca. Here's one we have an original autograph of, and I'm
Yeah,
going to
speak
bust
to
your
God.
God again. So here's a story that
Your
shows
God,
up.
though, you're not
Hey,
disrespecting.
hold
hold on.
You're
Hey, listen.
disrespecting all of
One
us when you
second.
say that because we're the
Hey,
same
hey,
God. You
Mark,
said we
you
are.
don't worship your pagan God, friend. Stop.
Loads of Christians up here, dude. We need to get some Muslims here. We got all of these guys here. Come on. So, Ronald and
But you keep leaving me.
So Mr.
Hold on,
Original
G.
Autograph, we're going to bust him in the rear end right now. So you remember when the Zoot rode Muhammad? Your rear end's about to be sore too, friend, but we're going to ride it with sources. So here's an original source called the Apocalypse of Abraham that shows up roughly 770 AD to 150 AD. The Quran steals from this source. This is the first source. This is the original. Here's your autograph. This
Would
is
you
a
say the
pseudo.
Bible stole from the Torah then?
Here, this is a pseudepigrapha. No, because our Bible is a continuation of the Torah,
Why
genius.
do you keep muting me? Am I a
and-
threat?
And our scripture is smart enough to say, as it is written, appealing somewhere, because your prophet couldn't read. He couldn't say, as it is written. So here's a story that shows up 70 to 150 AD.
But ironically, millions of people around the world.
Here,
keep
ironically, smooch the black stone. I don't have time for this. I don't do this in the evenings. This is my last story. Ironically, this story we have the autograph for. It's a bedtime story that shows up 700 to 150 CE is what the scholars date this at, because it talks about the destruction of the second temple. It says Abraham leaves a cave, worships the sun, the moon, and the stars, and then he wants to worship the one that sets all those in motion. So this shows up in the Quran. Chapter 6, verse 75 to 78, Abraham worships the sun, the moon, and the stars. We go to the original story. Your Quran steals from this. Hold on, let me jump to the source really quick. So here's an original autograph for you. So when you guys are out being like your prophet and doing P. Diddy tonight and visiting all your wives in a single round with one bath, you can know that your Quran is make-believe. So here is the original Quran, guys. where Abraham worships the sun, the moon, and the stars in Jewish legends. He leaves the cave. Here comes the planets. He worships those and says, these are the gods. And then the stars could no longer be seen. And he says, I won't worship them. And the sun comes forth. He worships that one. And then he worships the moon. This whole paragraph was written as a Jewish bedtime story that makes its way in the Quran. And here's your original autograph. Take this to the bank, friend. You can probably get a loan from your God, because it says if you give him a good loan, then he'll multiply your money for you. And how you give your loan to Allah, give it to Muhammad. So this is the source. It's called The Apocalypse of Abraham. It takes place in page 92. We have the originals. Your Quran steals verbatim right out of this. First time it shows up in history. Your prophet and your God are thieves. Your prophet was a klepto. He liked to steal underwear. He liked to steal scriptures. He liked to steal bedtime stories. He liked to rob people. He set Kanana on fire and said, give me the money. Your prophet couldn't stop stealing. He's the worst kind of person. He wasn't counting on the invention of the internet, that we were going to compile all these sources together and, and support the integrity of these people that say Muhammad was just repeating legends. You know what, guys? These people were right. Don't talk about Solomon and the flying carpet, Muhammad. These are legends. What do you mean Solomon had a magic ring? What do you mean Solomon was talking to the ants? Legends, legends, legends. You're a big fat ear. Stop talking. Here's Islam summed up in one picture, everyone, before I go. Look how happy he is. And he tricked you big dummies down here to believe the bedtime stories he stole was actually Quran verses. I have hundreds of examples of your prophet consistently stealing from everyone around him. He was a big dummy doo-doo head that couldn't stop. He couldn't help himself. It's like putting a crackhead in a room and expecting him not to smoke crack. Your prophet expecting him not to steal was like expecting the crackhead not to smoke crack. He couldn't help himself. He was a klepto. He even got himself a silver vagina, just like the Buddhists, and stuffed a rock in it, just like they stuffed the rock in theirs. Enjoy your hodgepodge, copy-paste religion. But hey, Jay, I want to go watch a movie with my girl, man.
All right, bro.
Thanks, Travis.
I'll let you take the complaint department, man. I'm going to send you my file one day so you can see this and start adding to it.
One day you will, Travis. I'm sure you will.
Okay. Yeah, you guys do the tawaf around the Kaaba just like the Hindus did. And then they show up and kiss their pagan stone, just like you guys stuff your head in there. Jesus said, lest a man be born again, he can't enter into the kingdom of heaven. The Muslims said, hold my beer. And then they try to stuff their head backwards into a vagina. But God bless you guys. I got to roll.
Take it easy, man.